Hi everyone, I'm Leo and welcome to my channel. Today I can finally talk to you about the Indigo Disk, the second part of the DLC for Pokémon Scarlet and Violet, which definitively closes the story of the game. I want to briefly review the events of the DLC and give you my opinion on this final chapter of the game and on my overall experience. Obviously there will be spoilers, so if you haven't finished the game, close this video now. So, let's begin. The DLC opens with the invitation of Director Cyrano to reach his futuristic Blueberry Academy to start a new adventure. As soon as we arrive, we find ourselves on this gigantic platform in the sea, which leads to an immense underwater terrarium divided in 4 parts, with different biomes and Pokémon. Personally, I love the structure of the terrarium, and seeing Pokémon living happily in their habitat, even if artificial. I thought I would have preferred a more in-depth explanation of the terrarium core, and how it was built, and not simply you put Paldean soil and crystal water in it and it does things. However, of all the biomes, my favorite was undoubtedly the Savannah one. Seeing all Savannah team Pokémon like Zebstrika and Ryan running around just made me happy. And I'm sure you all found the Lion King team Easter egg with the giant rock and the Pirora on top. These kind of details really drive me crazy. I was surprised to find Terra Raids inside the terrarium. I didn't expect there to be any, given that we are so far from the crater of Paldea, and I honestly don't remember if these had already been teased in the trailers. On the other hand, the quest system for earning Blueberry points didn't excite me that much. I would have preferred to have more quests and less repetitive ones, which is why I stopped doing them almost immediately. For this reason, at the time of this video, I have not yet unlocked all the rewards from the various academic labs, nor all the coaches. And I don't think I will. Moving on to the characters, I really appreciated the new Elite Four of the Academy. They are very well characterized. Lacey is very kind, and apparently she is the daughter of the Unova gym leader Clay, so we might see her again in the remake of Black and White. Crispin is very funny, and I like the scene where he was depressed because he was the first on the list to have to leave the Elite Four after we defeated and demoted Kieran. Poor Crispin. I like Amaris a lot, because she is cool and composed, and this fits perfectly with her team of steel Pokémon, and because she finally taught Orcoridon to fly. And this is a feature I've been waiting for since the beginning of the game. And then there is Drayton. Drayton is a jerk. I mean, he's funny because he's lazy and messy and has repeated the course 3 times. He's the classic slacker who has more talent than hard work. But I couldn't help but feel bad for Kieran when I saw Drayton mock him and call him ex-champion several times after the defeat. I mean, I get it, you have some beef and you want revenge, but give him a break, he's already fighting his demons, don't make it worse. But anyway, Drayton's challenge was the one I liked the most. Fighting the other challenges with the Pokémon that I have to personally catch in the terrarium was something I didn't expect. And since my Pokémon teams have always been made up of 99% dragons and 1% Escavaliers, I have to find something in the terrarium that met these standards. And with the right nature, and EV trained, and hyper trained. Obviously it was not necessary, because the challenge was very simple, but I like feeling powerful while kicking NPC's ass. Moving on, I didn't really like Carmine in the second part of the DLC, because she basically did nothing but lose her temper at any moment and complain about her brother. On the other hand, I really like Kieran. I like that he wanted to try to change his life after we took away his beloved Ogerpon, and we should feel guilty because this whole mess is our fault. And that he focused on training until he became the champion. I love stories of personal redemption. And best of all, after 2 DLCs, we finally got to fight a decent Elite Four champion. So the characters for the most part are very well done. I'll talk about Brian later. Now I want to talk about the new Pokémon introduced in the DLC. Obviously I went crazy for Hydrapple. I like his design, it's really cool and funny with that little apple stuck in the horn. And Archaludon is nice too, a little weird, and while before he reminded me of an inhaler, now he reminds me of a stepper remover. As for Raging Bolt and Gouging Fire, now comes the sore point for me. I'm not talking about their appearance, because in my opinion they are beautiful. Obviously they are strange, but I love the design of Raging Bolt with a fjord around the head that resembles stormy clouds. And Gouging Fire, even though it has really exaggerated horns that look like a bunch of bananas, it looks such a massive and imposing Triceratops that I can't help but love it. But my problem was another, it was being able to find them. I explored every single inch of the terrarium and the underdepths of Area Zero for hours wondering where the hell they could be. Until exhausted, I gave up and looked for a solution on the internet. And so I found out that you have to complete a quest for pairing and catch 200 Pokémon. And pairing doesn't appear in the terrarium if you haven't first completed the Kitakami quest to catch 150 Pokémon to fight Blood Moon Ursaring. And obviously I didn't do it. I know, I'm lazier than Drayton, but I just didn't feel like going around catching the same Pokémon I've been catching for decades for an Ursaring on steroids. Even thought he is really cool. But I have an extremely deep need to catch Raging Bolt and Gouging Fire and add them to my team. It's like a physical need, so I think I have no choice but to surrender to Game Freak's will and catch all those Pokémon. I just hope that after I've completed the quest, they don't become available in raids like Walking Wake because I'd be pissed. And after this brief digression, we return to the story of the DLC. So, after defeating the Blueberry Academy League, the time has definitively come to unravel the mystery of Terapagos. Geeta appeared in the Academy in all her disappointing glory. She gave us the Indigo Disk, and the fact that it was actually a CD was hilarious. And we were finally ready to descend into the crater again with an official permit from the Primera. The descent into the crater this time was less exciting than the first time, in my opinion, and a bit rushed. I loved doing the slow descent without Koraidon the first time and reading all the dialogue between Arven, Nemona and Penny and getting an in-depth look at their stories and feelings. This time, unfortunately, it was just us who descended, while Carmine, Kieran and Briar simply spawned when we reached the checkpoint. And it was a little sad. There was some dialogue, I know, but I couldn't feel completely transported, and the feeling of being with basic NPCs remained for the entire descent. Even Briar, in my opinion, was too rushed. Obviously she was excited to see her dream of discovering Area Zero come true, and she got lost in the Professor Sada notes and in all the strange things of the Underdepths. And I appreciated her theatrical reaction to the transformation of Terapagos. But I think that some more dialogue or some more background for Briar during the DLC would have made her more complete, and it was necessary in my opinion, because she was a fundamental character for the final arc of the story. However, the Underdepths were beautiful. I love exploring all those hidden caves, and it was fascinating to find the tree with the Herba Mystica crystallized miles underground, although unfortunately there was no way to interact with it. And finally, after having exterminated all the poor crystallized Pokémon trapped underground for centuries, we arrived to Terapagos' chamber. Now, this part made me feel mixed emotions. I have to admit that throughout the story I was rooting for Kieran, after all the suffering I caused him by capturing Ogerpon, who basically now sits in my box collecting dust. So when I saw him detach the crystal and wake up Terapagos, and I saw that smiling little bastard coming toward me, I was like, oh god, no, not again, not like this. Then I saw Kieran treacherously capture it with the Master Ball, and I was sincerely happy for him. But obviously, we are the protagonists, so it couldn't end like this. Terapagos breaks free, and even if you try to choose not to catch it after the fight, Kieran himself intervenes saying that it is ours, so we are basically forced to do it. Sorry bro. However, Berserk Terapagos fully terastallized was glorious, and the battle was epic. Easy, but epic. And the DLC ended like this, with a new legendary and everyone returning to the academy happily even after, with an Ed Sheeran song. Fortunately no, I would have been really pissed if it had ended like this. If you paid attention during the descent into the Underdepths, and I'm sure you did, you discovered that in one of Sada's journal, the professor wrote that she found herself on top of a distant mountain near a lake, where a boy gave her a white volume. And when Briar gave us a report on the expedition to Area Zero, which happens to be a white volume, I ran to the crystal pool at the top of Oni Mountain. And guys, this is what I really wanted. Terapagos came out of the ball, the fog enveloped us, and a beautiful Professor Sada, the real one, appeared before us as surprised as we were, but still keeping the scientist's clear mind. It was amazing. I was glued to the screen and loved the whole scene from start to finish. We finally discovered that all the mysterious events in the Area Zero, and therefore also its dream in the Phantom Memory, were caused by Terapagos and his power to modify space and time and mess up with various timelines. Finally some answers. But there are some things to note. Surely the whole story in the Area Zero was caused by temporal paradoxes and the intertwining of different timelines, which allowed Eve to write about majestic creatures that inspired Sada in her research, while ultimately she was the reason why this creature exists, thanks to the time machine that brought them back to our timeline in a sort of time loop. And I think I will try to explain my idea of how the time loop played out from the beginning in a future video. However, at the time of our meeting on the top of Oni Mountain, Sada's research was still in its early stages, because the time machine was still a project and the professor had not yet met Coridon. Thanks to Bria's book that we exchanged for her original copy of the Scarlet book, we allowed her to speed up her work and harness the power of Terapagos, which according to what she said had not yet been awakened. We had the reason why Sada succeeded in her work, unfortunately with all the consequences. But if you pay attention to her words when we asked her about her family, she told us that she'd already had a son, who probably felt alone at home, and she told us that she had never met Coridon before our meeting. While in our timeline, according to her journal in the Area Zero, in the section regarding Coridon, she wrote that our time machine research has yielded a triumph, a Pokémon from the ancient past. I've named it Coridon. I was expecting one new life to treasure, but what a fortune to be blessed with this gift as well. This means that she was still pregnant in our timeline when she brought Coridon back with the time machine. And here there are two possibilities. This could just be a plot hole, or a clue that actually the Professor Sada we were talking to was from another timeline, different from ours and with a slightly different order of events. She also said that she was probably in a different timeline. And later, after exchanging Bria's book for a Scarlet book, she said, "Perhaps I should take this chance to go home and enjoy a bit of downtime with a good book." I hope that in Bria's book there was a reference to the fact that Professor Sada died leaving Alvin an orphan, and I like to think that perhaps now the professor in her timeline, after reading the volume and understanding the danger of terrestrial energy, revised her plans for Area Zero a bit and decided to spend more time with her son. Maybe giving her the white volume wasn't such a bad idea after all. And maybe we managed to guarantee Alvin an happy life in some timeline. Who knows? I must admit that after receiving Sada's original book, I ran to the Area Zero to try to reactivate the time machine, but unfortunately for now the room is no longer accessible, and perhaps it's for the best. The time machine had already caused enough problems. In conclusion, I think this ending was wonderful. It closed the story for Scarlet and Violet perfectly, and in my opinion Game Freak really nailed it with the second part of the DLC. I'm not gonna lie, my hopes had faded a bit in recent months, and I was afraid that they would rush things too much and ruin everything. But instead I'm fully satisfied and confirmed that this whole experience was absolutely worth the price and the wait. Now we just have to wait for the epilogue announced by Game Freak, when we will join Arven, Nemona and Penny again to meet Pesheront, and we will be able to definitively close the story of the game. I can't wait! Maybe it's the heat of the moment, or the fact that Pokémon Scarlet is the reason why I opened this YouTube channel, but I can say that for now this game is very high in my ranking of Pokémon games, just below Pokémon Black and White. I love this game and honestly I'm sad it's ending. And that's all for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it, let me know your opinion in the comments, and if you want, leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for stopping by and see you next time. Bye!